progress.
Hello, Professor.
Candy.
Hi.
Let me make sure my audio is working. Can you hear me, Candy? Okay, good. Thank you, thank you. How you doing, Candy?
Good, thank you for asking. And you?
I'm okay. I am okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry I lost a few classes.
All good. That's why we record them. It's all good.
Yeah, but I try to make my assignments, and oh my God, I feel I don't finish the essay, the last essay. So many words. Oh my God, no. It's hard.
Yeah, it is. It's this class, it's always, you know, the semester is a long time. It's like, it's como olas, no? It is like waves, you know, it's up and down, up and down. It's okay.
I don't know why, but if it's for is my second language, I feel so many words, but in Spanish, I think so I can write a book, complete book. Yeah, because my ideas fluent quickly, but in English, I need connect.
Much slower, right? And for the first time, anything, right? The first time we're writing really long, you know, long essays or new vocabulary or whatever it is, right? A new skill. It's slow at first, you know.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
You're not the only one, Candy, I promise. You are not the only one.
Okay.
I see Draga's here. Parisa's coming in. Hi, you guys. Yeah, well, we'll see what we will see what people need tonight, how we're doing.
Hey, how about you?
Hey, Pradisha. So Gus coming in. Hi, Gus.
Hi, Professor. How are we doing?
Not too bad. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good. Happy to hear it. Who else is here? Fauzia's coming in.
Hello, Professor.
Hi there. How you doing tonight?
Good. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay.
Great.
Asha's here. Hi, Asha. Just saying hi as people come in.
Hey, Professor, how are you?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm doing pretty good. Pretty good.
Good.
Oh, I thought that was Zabi. I saw Zabi coming on the iPhone, but now I saw Zabi changed his name. Hey there, Zabi.
Hi, teacher. Hi, professor.
Howdy. All right, 6:31. Small group so far, just like usual. I'll wait a few minutes. We'll see if we can get a few more folks. But yeah, if you're here with me now or you're watching the recording, last week we started the turn, right? The starting to get ready for hyperfocus, thinking about reading strategies specifically for nonfiction, articles, chapters, things with headers, things with bullet points. So we will continue to do that today, right? We'll continue to do that that work and sort of get you ready to start the book, to start hyperfocus. So, hey, Didier.
Hi, Professor.
Yeah, and then we'll see. I'll be curious if people have questions, or I want to do kind of a check-in and see how you guys are feeling, what you guys need as you get ready to read the book. Hey, Sadaf.
Hey, Professor.
Howdy. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Pretty good.
Good, good.
Yeah, Professor, can I say something?
Sure, of course. And then I
Yeah.
see Draga's hand too. But yeah, please, Gus.
Yeah, it's about I did the homework
Okay.
for the reading. For me,
Yes.
that was pretty hard, the vocabulary.
Good.
To matching the words. Oh my God. It's not like the same when you have the definition.
Yeah.
They have only like a clue, and then you have the connect the vocabulary. That would is the thing is like a scary.
Well, I think that I said, what, 2 attempts for each quiz. So if people need to take it 3 times or 4 times, that's fine. But some of those vocabulary words are really important. And that's why I want to make sure you see them and practice them in those short readings. Because again, and Candy sort of said this at the beginning of class, right? One big challenge when we start reading longer, chapters, longer books, is that vocabulary, right? Is the main idea is even more important than the vocabulary. But of course, in the lessons that I put in Canvas for you to practice the vocabulary, because I want you to learn those words. Yeah, it's a different kind of skill, right? Definitely.
Okay, what can be the strategy to do it quickly, because it takes time matching the vocabulary with the words. What do you recommend to?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that in a lesson like that, where I'm, the teacher, me, I'm asking you very specifically to focus on the vocabulary. I think go to an online dictionary, right? You can use a dictionary. I think the dictionary is probably your best help. That type of lesson, I design it so that translation is not really helpful for you. The best thing is probably just look up the definition. And then it's kind of like paraphrasing, right? Because you might see a definition that's very close to the one that I give you, or some similar words, but it's not the same. So again, that's why, those vocabulary activities, Gus, are not like creative, fun, interesting lessons. Usually I try to give you creative, critical thinking lessons. That is just forcing you to think about those vocabulary words, right? Because synthesize for example, is just such an important word. So really, I think that if it's just about pure vocabulary test, in my class, have a dictionary, right? Go to Merriam-Webster's, or go to learnersdictionary.com or whatever. And then of course, as I've said, that's a little bit of a different skill than when you're reading. You don't need to stop and translate or look up the definition for every word. But yeah, it's I just wanted to say there are two different skills, right? Sort of reading to understand the main idea and trying to guess the definition, versus really understanding the meaning of specific and important vocabulary. Those are sort of two different skills,
Yeah, because I didn't use a dictionary. Only I guess.
How'd you do?
I start matching the word with the meaning.
Yep.
And that it helped me. But the first time I was like I fail in some, but then I start matching the other ones, so that helped a lot. But because using the dictionary is 10 words, you have to spend more than, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes finding the words and then reading and then matching. You can spend more time.
Yep.
But at the beginning, I did that. I start guessing.
I think you did it perfect, Gus. Honestly, like if that were me, if I were doing it in Spanish, I would probably do the same thing. Go through the reading, try and understand the meaning just from what I read in context, right? How was the word used in the reading? And then guess, and then see, okay, I got this one right, that one wrong, and then kind of adjust, right? Because that's kind of, again, like that's the way that the activity is designed, right? So if do you feel like you need more attempts? Now I've got Draga, Parisa, Didier, I see all your hands, so I will get to all of you. Gus, do you feel like you need more attempts for those lessons? Like you want to do it 3 or 4 more times, or 2 or 3 times, or 4 times? What did I do this?
Yeah, I think, if you can do that, I can practice more, but yeah.
I'll put it 3 times or 4 times. Again, remember, the most important thing for me for these lessons in Canvas is learning the new skills, right? Learning the new skills. So how to do it is sort of the way that I'm asking you to do it, right? Because like you said, it's kind of slow, but it's vocabulary building, right? It's forcing you to practice vocabulary. Cool. Draga, please.
Hello, Professor Jeff. How are you?
Hey, Draga. I'm okay. How you doing?
Good. I failed, I think, quiz 15 or 16. So I would like you to explain, if possible, if you have enough time, difference between a thesis statement and main idea and supporting information. And I have a few more questions, but for later.
Yeah, we can talk about that. I wanted to talk about sort of where we are going for the next 2 months. And then if that's what people need help with in this class, I am happy to talk about that tonight, Draga. So I think that's lesson 16, if I'm remembering correctly. Let me make sure here.
If it's possible, give one more chance for lesson 16, Professor.
Yeah, I think I just did that for lesson 16. Maybe so. Is it lesson 16 that was hard for you too, buddy?
Yes.
Yes, it was
Good.
hard for me.
Okay, maybe we just need to talk about this one together tonight. Let me think about that for the points. Okay, Parisa. So Drago was saying, let's talk about 16. Parisa, you were saying, Jeff, let me do it again.
Also, I have one more question in
Okay.
lesson 16.
Yeah.
I didn't want to make it clear because of some students. Maybe it's not good. But there is two similar answer for question 2 and 3.
Okay.
Can you check it, or you?
Did I make a mistake? Did I in question 2 and 3?
I'm not sure, but it's two similar answer. For yellow color and green color, it's signs to supporting information.
Oh, maybe this was why Drago was confused. This could be
Yes.
teacher
Yes, I was
mistake.
confused. Yes, I was confused with this.
Let me sure, let me look at this here. And then Didya, please, while I look at this, what's your question, Didya?
Yes, Professor, I have two questions. First, I realized the same in the, I think it's the lesson 14 that you said that we put the same phrase, original phrase with the same word, and I put it twice. I think I don't remember which one in the yes, it's in lesson 14.
14.
With the vocabulary that you said that we are put some process, original process, and
Yes.
said
Yes.
the same word in two questions.
Look at all the mistakes
So I put
made.
two different
Oh yeah, I did. You're right. You're
yes,
right, Didya.
synthesis
You're right.
and synthesis. So well, I put two different because I put the same. See, I know.
Well, you're very nice. That's fine. This is why, again, maybe it's just because I was thinking that's how important this word is. I'm sorry for confusing you guys. This is what happens when, you know, your teacher creates all the content for the class, computer mistakes. I'm not going to worry about this, Didier. So this is critical thinking, synthesize, comprehension, general as an adjective, and synthesize. So I'll just give you guys the points for these. For this is lesson 14, like Didier is saying. This is the original sentences. So if you use the same sentence for synthesize 2 times, that's fine. I'll give you the point. If you're like Didier and you have, you know, an extra credit, that's great too. But it just shows that synthesis was on my brain, right? Because it's so important.
Okay, and the second question regarding with this same thing is that for me also was so difficult, this part, the vocabulary to find the definition was also difficult. And I still with one question because I don't understand well the differences between college level and transfer level. So I don't know if you could explain it a little bit more between two differences because I have a mistake in the quiz in exactly these two questions. So
yeah, I can explain that one very quickly. College level is us, right? At American River College, we are a 2-year college. Transfer level means 4-year university degree, bachelor's degree coursework. So Sac State, UC Davis, that is transfer level or 4-year university level. We are college level, right? Now, some of the classes at ARC are also transfer level classes, right? Because if you take 340 with me next semester, those 4 units can go with you to Sac State or to UC Davis, right? It's the same as taking that class at Sac State or at UC Davis. But this class, 325, is a college level class, right? You can't take these units with you to get a bachelor's degree,
Got it.
right? Now, you might, like for people who are taking this class for a certificate or some kind of professional sort of skills, college level class, right? You can absolutely say, I took college level English, but there's a difference between that and a class that will get you a bachelor's.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep. And then let me see, I'm not sure if it's Draga's same hand, but let me go back and make sure I fix the quiz number 16. And maybe this is what we need to talk about tonight, because if it was already difficult and then my error made it even more confusing, then I am absolutely sorry about that, you guys. While I pull this up in the background, I'll just say hi to Lasana and Manisha, and Marcia's here. Hi, you guys coming in. Just saying hi as people come in here. And I'll start to share my screen in one more second here. Just give me one moment while I fix this stuff in Canvas for us.
Professor, and hello,
Hi,
everyone.
Manisha.
I'm so
Hi
sorry
there.
for being late a little bit. I was outside.
No worries, no worries. Okay, 325. Okay. Parisa was exactly correct. Yeah, you're right. Question number 2 and question number 3 have the same answer, but of course that should not be true. I'm so sorry about that.
Yes, I was confused with the I did mistake.
No, of course, that's my fault. So let me, and I'll fix this about how many times you can take it. And then maybe we'll just go through this together tonight. Allow students multiple attempts. Let's just say 3 and take it from there. I'm so sorry about that. Okay, Draga, is it the same question or a new question?
You mean another question I mentioned?
Yeah, yeah, same. I just still see your hand. I want to make sure I'm not
Oh,
missing
I'm sorry, I didn't remove it. I'm sorry.
No problem at all. Manisha, question before I get started here.
I'm sorry, Professor. I don't know if anybody else asked this question, but I have a request. One of the tasks, I think it's lesson 16. For the first part, unfortunately, I got 0. So is there any way, I did try to do it again, but it didn't let me. I think it was just only one time attempt. Is it possible? Can we do it again or not? Just for the
fixed it. I just fixed
part
it.
of it.
I just fixed it because there was my own error too. And when I set up the quiz, I made a mistake too. So maybe we'll just look at that activity together, because it sounds like it was not only my mistake, but it was also very difficult for people.
Yeah, unfortunately, I was so upset because I tried to do that test, and for the first part, I got 0. I was like, oh my God, I wanted to try it again. It didn't work. It didn't let me to do it. So if it's possible though.
Yeah, I just fixed it. So we'll talk all about that. So Draga, when you said, let's talk about 16, you, as usual, you're right. Okay, so I'm going to share my, did you have one more question before I get started?
The thing is that I didn't do 2 quiz. Maybe this is one of those that it doesn't matter if we working on it this and I take the quiz later.
Of course. No, that's fine. That's fine too. That's totally fine. And I think that if we go through it together, hopefully some of the ideas will be even more clear. And again, that quiz or that activity, right? The idea is it will help you be more prepared to read Hyperfocus. And tonight I'm going to assign the first reading in Hyperfocus and give you some idea about what I want you to do there. So even if we look at lesson 16 together, it's only going to help you, Didier. And I'm not worried about, I'm not worried about the points. I just want to make sure you guys understand the ideas, All right. Thank you, everybody. Again, one more time. I'm sorry. Okay, here we are, week 9. It is Tuesday, March 15th. And it is great to see all of you. I hope that you are all doing well and you are safe and the people you love are safe. And just know I'm still thinking about you guys and everybody. It's a weird and interesting, scary time in the world. So here's our plan for tonight. I've got a quick update about grading stuff. I want to introduce summarizing versus paraphrasing. And really the focus of tonight is going to be on summarizing. And then I want to share a quick announcement that I have about the schedule, and then we'll show you what's in Canvas. So first, just a quick announcement about grading for all of your narrative essays. As I say here, I was not able to finish grading all of the narrative essays, but I'm so close to being done. And the way that I do this is I will not open up the grades until I finish with everybody. Okay, so I'm done, I'm almost done, but I don't want to open up the grading until everyone is finished. So I will publish all of the scores as soon as I finish them. And I promise that I will have them graded by the end of the weekend at the latest before Monday, probably sooner, but I just want to make sure I give you a promise, right? A specific deadline. And don't worry, you will still have time to revise and resubmit for a higher score once all of the grades are in. Now, I have to say, I won't talk about it too much because they're not all done, but you guys, I'll share this more when I see you again in the future. I am very happy. These are some of the best narrative essays I have seen since I've been teaching this class. I am so happy and impressed, and I cannot wait till I finish grading all of them so I can share the feedback and your grades with you. You guys did an amazing job, and you made me a very happy teacher because you, of course, shared your own personal experience, that's amazing, right? That takes courage and bravery to do that. But also, you guys did a great job learning the structure, right? Learning the structure of the narrative writing. So I was really happy. So I promise I will share my happy good news with you very soon. But that was my just really short update. Is I hope that people feel happy and proud because I was very, very impressed. Very, very, very impressed. And I see some people clapping their hands. Yeah, clapping their hands. Draga, new hand question about grades?
Will we be allowed to read each other's narrative writings?
I thought about that, just because the Zoom, that's an interesting question. Maybe when I'm done grading, Draga, this is the first time I ever thought about that with this class because they are so wonderful. We could talk about that when I've graded all of them. I could sort of take a poll or something, and if people feel comfortable, like I could put them into a document or a Google document and people could read it on their own. We probably won't have time to do it together in class just because we have so much to talk about with hyperfocus, but I love that idea, Draga. So yeah, I love that idea. Asha says, that's good. Nice job, everybody. Yeah. Let me think about a way to do that, Draga, because if people do want to share, I could probably find a way to do that. Yeah. I had that thought. It's like we should make our own book. We should make our own map is more than, is only one story, of all of our essays. All right. So here's what we're doing. So last week, we talked about reading strategies, skimming for nonfiction, okay? And we'll see what we have time to do. We could practice more of this tonight, okay? So I have some slides in here. We can review this. But first, I want to talk about the difference between summarizing and paraphrasing, okay? And then, once we talk about summarizing and paraphrasing, I want to I'm going to make my face big for this one. So here's the plan for tonight. I'm going to do a quick sort of mini lecture about the difference between paraphrasing and summarizing, right? How to summarize effectively. Then I'm going to introduce the assignments for hyperfocus. Okay, I'm going to show you all of the resources that I have for you, the calendar, and how I want you to do this stuff. And then after I talk for maybe, I don't know, 20 minutes maybe, then I want to hear from you all about how we can use this time together tonight to get you ready, right? What do you need to feel comfortable to start reading? And then what we're going to start to do now, right, is summarizing, paraphrasing, and responding, right? All of those 3 different writing skills that we've talked about and practiced a little bit, in addition to the narrative writing that we did, we're going to start to practice those skills, right? So that's what we do this month. And then the last month of the semester, we put them all together, right? Summarizing, paraphrasing, and responding, we put them all together for the final academic project. But right now, we're going to sort of go piece by piece, right? Part by part. So as I talk about this, right? As I talk about paraphrasing versus summarizing, as I talk about how to write an effective summary, and then I show you what we're going to do in hyperfocus, I just want you to be thinking, what do I need from Jeff to feel ready to do this, right? Because that's what I want to do tonight. I have a bunch of different ideas about how we can do it, but I'm as always, I want to hear from you all, okay, before we do that. So here's my sort of mini lecture, and then I want to hear from you. So paraphrasing and summarizing. Remember, last week we talked about quoting. We did some practice with MLA in text citation. We talked a little bit about paraphrasing. I showed you some examples. If you weren't here or if you haven't watched the recording, please go back and watch that video from last week. I sort of show you 3 different examples of how we can do a word for word quote, right? How we can do a summary, how we can do a paraphrase, and when we're doing that, how to use MLA in text. But today I'm going to start to talk about, well, when do we paraphrase and when do we summarize, right? So here's a quick difference between the 2. And like I said, tonight, I'm really going to focus on summarizing. So paraphrasing is here, right? It's on this side of the table. Paraphrasing is all about restating all of the ideas in a text in your own words, okay? And if I'm going to highlight, or if I'm going to annotate my own sort of writing here, I would underline, bold, star, highlight all of the ideas, right? So because we are re-saying all of the ideas in a text, a paraphrase is about the same length as the original text, right? And as I say here, it's going to be longer than a summary. A paraphrase is specific. It must include everything. And a paraphrase clarifies or explains, right? Now, as you're going to see when we talk about summarizing, these first 2 ideas, right? The paraphrase is all of the ideas from the original text, and it's about the same length. This means, hopefully you're thinking, oh my God, is Jeff going to ask us to paraphrase like a chapter? No, right? You don't want to paraphrase a whole article, a whole chapter. God forbid, a whole book, right? You're not going to do that. You want to think about paraphrasing sentences and maybe short paragraphs, maybe, right? But this is a really important idea to understand, right? Paragraph is about the same length as whatever you're quoting, whether that's a book or an article or even a YouTube video or something, right? If you're trying to paraphrase a minute from a video, right, you need to sort of put those ideas, those words for that minute, all of those ideas into your paraphrase, right? And now this is different than a summary, and the summary is over here in this part of the table, right? Now, as I say here, a summary is about explaining the main ideas, right? Only the main ideas. And because it's only the main ideas, a summary by definition, you guys, is shorter than the original, right? And even in my sort of specific and strange, a little strange video example, if you watch a 5-minute video, for example, on YouTube, your summary, if you are explaining it, imagine that you're talking, your summary is only maybe 1 minute, right? Your summary, whether it's writing or speaking, is always shorter. A summary is shorter. Now, because a summary is shorter, a summary is selective, right? That means you, when you're writing, need to choose what to include and what to keep out. And this is why we have talked about reading skills for 9 weeks this semester, right? We have to make sure, I've said this so many times, it's boring, but it's still true tonight, right? In week 9. Before you even think about summarizing or paraphrasing, you've got to make sure you understand what you read, right? So once you understand what you read, you need to make a choice, right? You need to be selective about what to include. And just like a paraphrase clarifies, a summary condenses. Condenses, again, just a nice way of saying you take something that's like this and you shrink it down, right? So you have an article that's this long, you make it this long, right? You have 2 paragraphs in your page, you make it 1 paragraph, right? That's what a summary does by definition. Now, this slide, you will see it again so that I can show you the difference between paraphrasing and summarizing, right? But tonight, we're mostly going to focus on summarizing. So I don't want to spend too much time here on this slide. I've got one more to show you. But before I move on and really just focus on the summarizing, questions about these 2 writing skills? Any questions? Please, Didia.
Yes, I don't quite sure how about the length about the paraphrasing. You said that it's longer as the summary, so could you please a little bit more about this?
The paraphrase should be about as long as the thing you are paraphrasing. So let's just say, for example, Didia, I'll keep it real easy. If I say paraphrase 1 page, right? 1 page. Okay, if you read 1 page and I say paraphrase it, then what you write will be 1 page. Your summary will be, let's say, half a page, right? And it's the same thing. So if you look at your book and you say, ooh, these 2 sentences are so important, right? The meaning, the ideas are so important that I want to include all of those ideas, right? I don't want to leave anything out. I don't want to be selective, right? I want to include all of the ideas in those 2 sentences. Then you will paraphrase those 2 sentences, and your paraphrase will be about 2 sentences long, right? If you probably not. Probably not.
Because it's for my own words, so I don't put the same, because it's a copies, you know, so I have to put it in my own words, and maybe it's longer.
That's fine if it's a little longer, right? Like, but it won't go from 2 sentences to a paragraph, right? That's not effective writing. But maybe it's a little longer. Okay, that's fine, right? And after this, after 340, you never need to count words again, right? The word counting is only because the college makes us count them to give you guys grades, right? But I don't care if you're paraphrasing 77 words and your paraphrase is 86, I don't care, right? But it can't be 490, right? Because then I'm like, wait, what this cannot be the same meaning from the original text, because if you're doubling or tripling the amount of words, probably what's happening there, Didia, is that student is adding their own ideas or information or opinion or sort of talking about the ideas instead of just re-saying those same ideas. Make sense? And paraphrasing is harder than summarizing. It's why we'll do it in a couple weeks. I want you to feel comfortable summarizing before we think about paraphrasing. But it's a good question. So for tonight, the only thing I want you to think about is paraphrasing should be about the same length. If you're trying to paraphrase a paragraph, your paraphrase will be about a paragraph. If you're paraphrasing 1 sentence, it'll be about 1 sentence. And summaries, if you're trying to summarize a page, it'll be shorter than a page. If you're summarizing 5 pages, it'll be shorter than 5 pages, right? Gus, I see your hand.
Yes, I have a question. I have a question about summarizing.
Please.
When you say a summary is selective, but they don't include everything, if I going to summarize like a paragraph, and then like Adraga said, if I going to summarize something, it's going to be with my own work.
Yep.
But if I include something that you don't want to read, maybe something else, how I can see the main point.
Now that is the $1 million question, Gus. Yeah, that is the $1 million question, and that's my job, is to make you practice, 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 and it's very hard. Like I said, this is the #1 thing I talk about with other teachers, is like, how did we all learn to summarize really well? Because, you know, even when I talk to people who teach in the English department, right, not ESL, you have high school students, American students, right, native English speakers who really have a hard time, right? How do I know what the main idea is? How do I find the main idea? I don't have a perfect answer, Gus, except I am trying to design things in this class to help you practice, practice, practice. I think a lot of it is just read and practice, read and practice, read and practice, right? Because you'll start to notice, and that's what lesson 16 is about, Gus, and that's why I think probably that's what we'll end up looking at tonight, is you kind of have to find, it's like, what would a good metaphor be like? It's like, you know, those amazing dogs that can like sniff out human scent, like they can sniff it out, like they're like bloodhound dogs, you know, like if they're searching for a human, they can find them like 100 meters away or something. I think it's the same thing. You kind of develop a skill for identifying the main idea in a reading. But it's not always obvious at first, right? And I think that's why, again, I ask you guys to do and think and learn a lot about critical reading skills, because that's part of the solution, right? Is when you are reading while you're annotating, highlighting, taking notes, asking questions, read for 10 minutes, write a reflection, right? Ask yourself questions about what you understood, review the headers and the bullet points, right? Like skimming, previewing, all of those different reading skills that we practiced. I make you do it because I believe that when you read that way, you start thinking in critical ways, and that will help you identify the main idea, even though it's really hard.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and that's what we'll do tonight, because well, and that was my really long answer to Gus's question. I'm talking too much already, but the short answer to Gus's great question is reading skills. How do I know what the main idea is? Reading skills, right? And that's a little bit different than the writing skill of how to create a summary. But of course, in this example, they go together, right? Because if you didn't understand the main idea in the reading, then like you said, Gus, if you didn't understand the main idea, then you probably didn't include it in your summary. And that means even if you've got perfect grammatical sentences, your summary is not going to be effective, right? Because you didn't summarize the main idea. You're just summarizing some other idea, you know?
Yeah.
And that's the challenge. That's the challenge. Okay, with that in mind, this is a great question. If anyone else has a question, save it. I want to show you one more slide and then we'll keep talking about that, because that is the question. Gus gave it to us here. So summarizing. So again, this is just about summarizing, right, you guys? So I think that I like to talk about when should we summarize and then how should we summarize, right? So just like we were talking about on the previous slide, you should summarize when you want to emphasize the main idea from the original text. You want to give a short overview, right? What's the big picture of the original text? And you should summarize when you have not been asked to give your opinion or original ideas about the text. Notice that this is very different than a response paragraph, like I have asked you to do in this class, right? Now, summarizing and responding These are the two most common things that you will have to do in a college level or transfer level class, right? You might read an article or a chapter and a teacher might say, write a summary and response essay, or write a response to this topic, or summarize the main idea, right? But I want to be very clear here. Summary, just the facts, right? Not your opinion. Response writing is when you get to say, I think, I feel, I believe, or, ooh, this made me remember. Great, right? But a summary is when it's just the ideas from the reading, not your own ideas. So because that's when we summarize, how do we do it? Well, as I've said to Gus's great question, you've got to understand the main idea of the text you are summarizing. Right? And as I say here as well, use any and all reading strategies necessary, right? And then how do you do it? Well, you focus on the main idea and you keep it short. You mirror the structure of the original text. I'll say more about that in a moment. You use an in-text citation at the beginning of the summary, just like we practiced last week, right? Author, last name, page number, and then you're good. You don't need to say it again. You introduce the author, you introduce the page number or page numbers, right? Maybe you're summarizing more than one page, but as long as you introduce the author's last name and use an in-text citation at the beginning, you're good to go. And you need to use your own words, okay? So again, use your own words, just like in a paraphrase, but you're keeping it short. And I want to say one more thing about this, and then I'm ready for questions about this mirror the structure of the original text, right? Now, just as an example here, I'm going to go to, for example, chapter 1 in Hyperfocus. Well, maybe even I'll go right to the very beginning, the first page, since I'm going to assign you the first pages in the reading tonight, okay? So this is the very beginning. He starts with something called chapter 0, why focus matters, attention is everywhere. It doesn't even matter what these words say, you guys. Imagine that I'm asking you to summarize these first, 3 or 4 paragraphs, okay? What I mean when I say on the slide here, where'd my slide go? Sorry, computer problem. There we go. What I say, what I mean when I say mirror the structure of the original text, what I mean is if you're going to summarize these 3 paragraphs, your summary should just start from the beginning and go to the end of these 3 paragraphs, right? So your summary should, at the beginning, you'd summarize the ideas in the first paragraph, the main idea in this first paragraph, right? And then you'd summarize this paragraph. And then you'd summarize this one, and then this one. You don't need to put an idea from the 3rd paragraph into the first, right? You can just present the ideas that you're summarizing in the same order that the author showed them to you in the original text. That's what I mean when I say mirror the structure. Now, this, I think, when you start to feel comfortable with summarizing, this is actually good news, right? You don't need to worry about because once you identify the main idea, you don't need to worry about what order you put them in, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. You just put them in 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, just like the author does in the original text, okay? That is what I mean with mirror the structure of the original reading. Okay. Okay. Questions? Here's my question. Everybody in this class, if you're taking this class, you had to write a summary before. I'd love to just hear or type it in the chat, anyone who's still with me. How do we feel about summaries? Or what's easy, what's hard about summarizing? What have you done in the past? Have you had to summarize books or chapters or articles? Or when I say summary, what do you guys think of from your past experience? I'd love to hear from 3 or 4 people.
I can. For me, Professor, I think when I summarize in Spanish is the idea when I take, like you said, is no, I didn't summarize like a paragraph. It's maybe a chapter.
Okay.
And that is a little bit longer, and you have to start like focus on the main ideas in details sometimes to summarize.
Good.
And I think, I don't know if the same structure on Spanish and English, but I think summarize, I did like taking the main ideas when I'm going reading. Like I start reading and I start taking the main ideas, not each paragraph, but through the reading, I start taking something specific.
Good. Okay, good. Yeah, I think you're right, Gus. Especially in a book, you know, if it's a whole chapter, you probably don't need to summarize sort of paragraph by paragraph. You should, you're right, go main idea by main idea. I think that's exactly correct. Can I ask you, Gus, is it the same in Spanish? Because I've never taken like a transfer level class in Spanish. When you write a summary, will you present it in the same order? Like if you read a chapter in a book, will you no. Tell me about this.
No.
Yeah,
You write,
you can talk.
I love it. Yeah.
You write like a general idea of all of the lecture. And that's the problem here, because when we write, the professor always tell us like idea by idea, paragraph for paragraph. And we say like, why? Because in Mexico is you read all and you write like a free essay.
Yeah, start with the main. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like I know it's like a big picture instead of going like idea by idea.
And the professor have the problems because the professor says, where are the idea that I asked for? I know for the professor is difficult.
It's just different, right? It is
the
just
structure
different.
Is different.
It's just different organizational structure. But I will say one thing I can say is, at least for me now, and then I want to hear from other people, Didier and Zabi too. Usually in US college, not always, but even if you're going to make some structure mistakes, right? Even if you present the main ideas in a different order, usually college teachers, university teachers will give more power to the idea. So did you get the main idea, right? Did you include all of the most important ideas in your summary? If you did that, you're probably going to get a B, a passing grade. And then you have time to figure out the structure. So that's not to, I don't want to say, oh, it's so easy, right? But I just want to make sure people understand, usually showing the teacher that you used critical reading skills to correctly identify the main idea or main ideas and then include that in your summary is the most important skill for summarizing. It really is. It really is. Didier, please, and then Zabi.
Yes, I agree with Gus and Liz regarding with that in Mexico, the structure is different as in here. Also, when you use a write and an essay, here the structure is totally different, and you teach the way how to do the essay and the paraphrasing and everything. And in Mexico is so quite different.
Yeah.
That the way that you are doing it here.
Got it. Yeah, the new stuff never stops, you guys. It never stops. And then Zabi, I see your hand, and then Vincent, I'll read in the chat what Vincent wrote. Zabi, please.
Yes, teacher. And summarize in our country the Persian as and some things books or other things is different. But when usually we see some things happen, when somebody asks us what is the summarize, we just shortly, if like for example 2 persons fighting, we just say Ahmad hit Mahmoud like this, but we don't explain all that. But after that, that person is
why what happened? What did Mahmoud do? Okay, so you think you keep it extra short or really short, Zabi?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Okay. That's really interesting, Zoe.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Vincent is saying in the chat, and then I saw your hand too, Parisa. Vincent says, I write a summary, like retell the story to a friend. Nice. And then Marzia says, I did the last semester a short story. We started with the citation, then we included all the main ideas, but not examples or unnecessary details. We avoid saying our opinions. We quoted and used paraphrasing. Look at you, Marzia. Who's your teacher? 315. Who's that? Who's that? Professor Travis? Professor Specker? Who is that? Marzia's comment in the chat is really nice, you guys. And I could add to Vincent, you know, I'm going to show you some more resources for, you know, where you can see more really good information about summarizing. And Vincent is right. Often people will say, okay, for your summary, imagine that you're telling a friend about the book or this chapter, but they'd never read it, right? They don't know the book. They don't know anything about it. You need to imagine that you're telling it to someone who doesn't know what is in the book or the article or whatever. So this idea about retelling it to a friend that Vincent says in the chat is really nice. It's really nice too. Marcia's comment. Yeah, we started with the citation. We included all the main ideas, but not examples or unnecessary details. And we avoided saying our opinions. Yeah, that's kind of, I'm going to share my screen again. That's kind of like I'm trying to say on this slide, right? That's what I'm trying to get at here. Okay, good. Okay, good. I think, you know, many of us, whether we summarize in first language, second language, back at home, here in the US, wherever, we kind of know what it is, right? We have some experience doing it. It's just now we're doing it with longer books, longer articles, bigger ideas, bigger vocabulary. It's just kind of a new level, right? A new level. Anybody else with sort of ideas or questions or Parisa? Yes, please.
As Marzia said, I did some story summarized the last semester with Professor Eric. And also I did a story summarize the main idea and organize in order the main idea without details and examples. I include all main idea that it was more important in the story.
I love it. Can I ask you, Parisa, was it easy to find the main idea, or how did you find the main idea?
Actually, for the first time I read, it was a little hard for me.
Yeah.
But after reading 2 or 3 times, I understand and I summarize the more specific events that happened in the story. I include that in a short sentence, every single events in the summary, in my summary.
Yeah. I love, now again, I'm thinking of Gus's question, and I'm sure other people had this question, but Parisa just kind of said it, right? Like, how do I find the main idea? I don't want to sound, I think it's kind of just like, read it 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. Like, I'm not saying that because, oh, it's so easy, you know, you should be, it's so easy, just find the main idea. But when I always think about this, like how to help students find the main idea, I really think it is more like a critical reading skill, right? It's like, did you understand the information that the author was trying to communicate to you, right? And I think more and more, the more I teach this class, you know, every semester now for 3 years at ARC, and before that at Berkeley and Alameda and all those other places, I think it's a reading skill. I think it's a reading skill.
Yes.
Professor Jeff, I have a question about that.
Please.
Okay, in the narrative, like the thesis is repeat sometimes, right?
Yep.
With this kind of reading,
Yep.
do you think the main idea, it can be like the author come over and over again using different words, matching some kind of the vocabulary, and then we
Yes.
can find out the main idea?
I
in
think
reading?
that's part of it, Gus, but I also think this is why we did this last week. I really think that especially with so many books now, especially nonfiction books, right? Books that you'll read at college level, these section headers, things that are highlighted and bolded, bullet points and lists, charts and graphs, right? This is a really important reading skill. And it's another reason that I choose this book, right? Like on almost every page, this is just the introduction. Here's a page break. Here's a shadow box he gives us. Here's a list, right? The headers are even a list. Number one, we don't even know what this is, right? You guys haven't started yet. One, put your phone out of sight. Probably we can guess this is about, he's going to write about your phone. Number two, mind your environment. Okay, this is going to be about my environment. Three, make a distractions list. Okay, distractions. And now I'm sort of going, okay, number one is put your phone. Put is a command. Two is mind. Okay, I don't know how he's using that word, but three is make. So this is a list, kind of like he's giving advice, right? Or he's kind of giving me commands or suggestions here, right? Question whether this book is consume caffeine. So again, this really kind of quick active reading skill, looking at headers, looking at lists, and as the real book starts, as I showed you here, anytime there's a big chart or graph or table like this, here's a list, right? Here's another gray box. These are really important clues to you that this is probably an important idea, right? So vocabulary is a part of it, right? But even more, it's kind of about the organization of the whole chapter instead of just the organization of one or two paragraphs, if that makes sense, right? Because if you think about it, right, the essays that we read in a map is only one story. They're like the whole thing, the entire idea is maybe 10 pages, 12 pages, you know, and then it's a new one. Hyperfocus is 200 pages, right? If we can say that there's one, you know, the author has a goal, like the author has an idea that he wants to share with us, well, that idea is so big and interesting that it needs 200 pages, right? So an idea that's that big and complex needs to be put into chapters, right? So the way that those chapters get organized is giving us important information about sort of how the author wants us to understand the ideas and in what order. Now, I'm not trying to say that this is also anything really big or scary, because like you all said, if you've read a book in any of your in high school or in university back at home, it's the same, right? It's the same, right? The authors will present and organize information in a specific way because they want to present it to you first, second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever, so that you understand those ideas. And more in college level books, you see that these, like I said, these headers, these lists, these bullet points, these are really big clues that authors use to say, hey, here, this section, these paragraphs are about this important idea. So when you go, so if you see the header to Gus's question about keywords, okay, so notice if I look at the header here, the first header says autopilot mode. Then on the next page, I see a day in autopilot mode. Pretty safe to guess this word autopilot is pretty important. And actually it's in the title of the chapter, switching off autopilot mode. So we can, again, probably guess using critical thinking skills, ooh, I need to at the end of this chapter, I need to understand what autopilot mode is and why it's important, right? And why the author is writing about it. So I think that's in addition to some of those vocabulary skills that we've been practicing all semester, Gus. I really think this is why I presented this to you last week, right? Is because when you skim and look at the structure and organization, you're priming the pump. You remember you're pumping before the water comes out. So you pump, and then when you read sabiduría, right? Then you get the wisdom. Then you get the wisdom coming out.
Yeah, because when we saw the article in online,
Yeah.
it was easy because they have in bold the word. They have sometimes is on their have underline, but in the book, if you see, they have the main header, but they don't have nothing. When you check, it's nothing in bold, nothing.
Yeah.
They can give you some kind of okay, this is important. You have to find out in this book what is important for me.
Yes. I think you're right, Gus. There's less, but there is some, right? There is
Yeah.
going to be some, but if you look, for example, if you take a psychology class or a history class, there might be even less. So I think this book is a good, in my opinion, this book is kind of a good place in the middle, right? Like you're right, it's not as obvious as like an online website article that, those articles are designed, right? It's like, okay, this can only take like 5 minutes or 10 minutes, make it really easy. So this book isn't as easy as a newspaper article, but I do think that it's written and organized in a way that is designed to be more easily understood than some really kind of scary, crazy long, university books. But you're right, Gus, you're right. Didier, I see your hand.
Yes, Professor, one question. If those graphs and data and lists are so important, how can we summarize those?
Well, that's an interesting question. And I think even more important, how I would I'd say this, for example, the 4 types of tasks, usually a good author is going to use charts, graphs, tables, and information to summarize something that they've already written about, right? So it's almost like they are presenting a summary of their own ideas. Now, that's in a good book. Again, whether you like this book or not, when you read it, it's a good book. It's well researched, it's well organized. The author is making smart and good decisions about how to present the information. Now, again, an online article, maybe not. But in this book, these graphics and charts are sort of different, shorter summaries, ways to represent a key idea, right? So that's a great question, Didier. So maybe you don't need to feel like you summarize the chart, but I'll just tell you right now, eventually in a week or so, I'm going to ask you to summarize what are the 4 types of tasks, right? What are the 4 types of tasks? Now, you can't summarize it only from this table, Didier, but when you go through and read these paragraphs about the 4 tasks, you can combine that, right? You can look at the chart here, look at the paragraphs, and then say, okay, like, how does this table here, how does this table help me understand what he writes about in the paragraphs? And the combination of the words and then a graphic, a text, an image, a table, data, whatever, hopefully those 2 things will make the main idea even more clear for you, Great question. Really interesting question. Yeah, again, like my dream is in the future to teach something called data visualization, right? Because nowadays we're so we are just visually obsessed, right? Like with Instagram and memes and the internet. Now everything is so much about images. It's so much about images and less about reading, actual words. So more and more, this is just my opinion now. I think being able to read a chart or a graph or an image is such a valuable skill, and I don't think we teach it enough. So anyway, someday I'd like to teach like how to read data, visual data, or understanding visualization of data, because it's really important. It's really important. Other questions about summarizing in general before we start to apply some of this here. Okay. Cool. I'm going to share my screen then. Okay, I'm going to show you our Canvas page now because I want to show you where all of the information for Hyperfocus is. Okay, so notice I'm going to go to Student View on our home page here. And if you notice now, under the links section here on the home page, now there's a new link that says Hyperfocus Calendar and Audio Recording. So if you click right here, here I've got a copy of the book, and here's our reading schedule, right? Our reading schedule for the rest of the semester. So these are the dates. These are the dates that we will be reading the book. And here are the pages that I want you to read for those dates, right? So on March 22nd, next week, I want you to read page 1 through 49 in the book, right? By 2 weeks from today, March 29th, I want you to read page 50 to 110. 3 weeks, 111 to 131. April 12th, spring break, no class, Semana Santa, take a break, get out of here, relax. April 19th, 131 to 170. April 26th is 170 to 215. Now notice we do have a little space and time at the end of the semester, the last week or two. So if we need to slow down a little bit, we can, but I will say this not to scare you, but just to be honest, we will read this whole book. Maybe you feel like it's too much. Okay, do your best, skim, you know, only do what you can do, but we're gonna go and read the whole book, okay? And here's the schedule for it. Now, down below here where it says audio recording, I have, just like I had audio recordings for some of the stories in a map is only one story, I have recorded myself reading the entire book for you, okay? So if you want to listen while you're reading, or Didia saying, applauding, it might be too much of my voice, Didia, be careful about the applause, okay? But if, I think chapter 1, page 1 through 49 is chapter 0, 0.5, 1, and 2, right? So you can listen along to those chapters, right? Or if you want to read the chapter and sort of see if it, try to read without the audio, or listen to the audio and then go back to read, whatever, right? However you want to do it, but this is here for you to listen and help support you, especially if there's like pronunciation questions or stuff like that, okay? So that's there for you. And then let me see, Asha says, thanks. You're welcome, you guys. Again, my dream is I really hope you feel like, especially because of the online learning stuff, I really hope you feel like I'm there reading the book with you. That's my goal, right? That's my goal. So that's why it's there for you. So again, if I go to the homepage, I just want to make sure everybody who's here with me and everybody who is watching on the recording can see. If I go here on the homepage under links and hyper focus calendar and audio, click this link, all the information for the reading schedule and all of the audio recording. That's where it all lives, okay? Let me go back here again, I'm sorry. Any questions about this link or this page in Canvas, anything at all?
What to pay attention when you read the book?
Everything. Well, I mean, what to pay attention, Draga, is that's what we're talking about tonight, right? Is what you should pay attention to is yourself and your thinking, and you should pay attention to, you should ask yourself this question. Do I know what the main idea of this chapter is? Do I know what the main idea of these 4, 5, 6, 7 paragraphs is, right? If someone asked me to summarize the main idea of this header, this section, could I tell them what the main idea is, right? That is the whole, that's the whole deal. That's the whole deal, right? And again, how do we do that? Well, I think that's like you're asking about lesson 16. I think that's like Gus is asking about reading skills. I think partly it's practice, but I do think, again, a big part of it is applying all the reading skills that we've been practicing this semester. And specifically for this book, looking at section headers, identifying key vocabulary, looking at visualization, tables, data, charts. And then again, like, I think, again, we've done 3 different critical thinking, critical reading skills that I'm sort of forcing you to practice, like reflection, right? Did I understand that? Okay, what did I just read? Did I get that? Like, what questions do I still have? You know, so that's what I'd say. That's what I'd say. That's what I'd say, Dragan. Any other questions about the resources, the materials here for hyperfocus?
Professor, obviously, if we, all those questions that you said, the answer is no, we have to read it and read it and read it again.
As much as you can, right? And I know, as much as time allows, we got people with jobs and families and kids and parents, and I know life is crazy, but again, do your best, right? I understand this is, you know, no one has 40 hours a week for this class, but even if I would rather, again, like in a perfect world, you guys know me, I think it's better to go really get deep knowledge on something small instead of getting really shallow knowledge on like a wide thing. So if you're stressed for time, just start with 1 chapter, right? Like if you're like, oh my God, it's not possible, I can't read 50 pages. Okay, but read 10 and really understand those 10. You know, that's even more important to me, because once you get practice, like Didier was saying, reading. Do I understand the main idea? Can I use my critical reading skills, right? That habit and that skill, that critical reading skill, you can use that skill anytime for any class, right? But the only way to learn it is to practice. You can't kind of fake it. You know what I mean? You can't be going 80 miles an hour on the 80 freeway and feel like, yeah, oh yeah, now I know how to identify the main idea in a chapter. It's kind of like, you know, you just have to go for it. So I understand if you can't go slow and reread, if you can't read 50 pages 5 times, 3 times, I totally understand, right? But whatever you can do, my suggestion is go deep, right? Go as deep as you can to really understand.
Professor, I have a question.
Yeah, and then I see Draga's hand too. Gus, please.
Yeah, in my case, I having ESL classes, and then I'm going to go to my business administration in college.
Yes.
My question is about, okay, I taking this class to be ready to my classes in colleges for my career, my degree.
Big time.
And like Didier said, okay, yeah, we have to read but understand. And in my case, I want to be ready when I start my degree. My question is, okay, if when I'm going to start with my degree, I think I'm going to read different books, not only one. They're going to have maybe more than 300 pages, and then the way to understand the reading, I think, is knowing about the skimming. Because I watched the video you tell us about that guy read a lot of books and summarize and have different strategies to reading.
That's it.
But that's the way I went to thinking about when, because in business administration I like numbers, I like mathematics, I like that, but reading is not my skill, right? But that is the thing. I want to. This is important to me, and then I had to practice. And then for the reason I know you have the Zoom classes, but being in front of you, we can ask you a lot of questions when we have something.
Of course, no, of course. And I think part of my job, Gus, is to just create a class where you guys feel comfortable and safe practicing these skills, because many times, again, this is true not just for you guys, right? This is true for American first language English students. we don't teach this stuff, man. Like, I don't know why, but we don't teach students critical reading and critical thinking skills. So when they get to that same business administration class, Gus, you might have a 19-year-old American dude, guy, who is also like, I like numbers. I don't know what the main idea of this is. Like, I can't read 300 pages, right? So you're right, Gus.
Yeah.
And I think it's my pleasure to be able to answer your questions and just know it's like when I told you guys to start writing the narrative essay, like sometimes when it's a new skill, the only way to do it is to do it. And that doesn't mean it's easy. That doesn't mean I expect it to be perfect, but you're right, Gus. I mean, like, it's just like, okay, if I sit down, imagine myself, I'm a new student. I sit down and I say, wow, I have never read a 200-page sort of academic nonfiction book. Okay, well, now's the time. I mean, like, now can be the time, right? You signed up for this class. I hope that you feel good and comfortable and you enjoy the class. And the way that I try to teach it, right, is not that I'm not expecting you to memorize this book. I'm not expecting you to understand the main idea the first time you read it. I want to give you time and space to practice these skills, because even more important than writing a perfect research essay, which is good, we'll talk about that, right? But even more important is the skill of learning critical reading and critical thinking so that you can more easily identify the main ideas while you're skimming, right? And while you're skimming, you know, okay, those first 3 pages weren't that important, but this one page is really important. I need to spend 20 minutes on this one page. Okay, the rest I can kind of skim, right? And I've thought about this so much. And like I said, I talk about it to other faculty, is like, I don't know how I don't know where I learned to do that. I think like just year after year after year, right? And I love reading too. Like I'm like, with words are like my numbers for you, Gus. Like my sister and brother would be like playing outside or on their bike, and I like my bike too, but like I just read all the time. Like I love reading books. And I think that's one reason that I think some combination of my school and just loving reading. So if I could like explain it to you, like, and make it easy for you guys, oh my God, you know I would. But I really strongly believe now, you just have to practice and get the most you can. And that's how I've designed this class, is not so that it's like a bunch of tests that you feel scared. It's like, okay, like you got to practice. But again, I'll say one more thing, and then it's questions from Draga and Liz. So I think it's just time to practice. But here's the thing, and especially with online, you actually do have to practice, right? Like you can't fake it. Like I said, like you can get away with only reading for 15 minutes, but you're not going to get good practice for critical reading skills in 15 minutes, right? Like it's, and my bad metaphor is like the gym, right? Like, okay, you can run on the treadmill for 10 minutes and be like, ooh, good workout. But you still only ran for 10 minutes. Running for 10 minutes is not the same as running for 45 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, and when we're practicing a brand new skill, there's no replacement for the experience. You know what I mean?
Yep. Thank you. And that is the thing. I like the way you teach these classes, because when I took grammar with you last semester, that one right now I feel like, oh no, I miss Professor Jeff with because it's different the way they teach grammar. Okay, but I don't like grammar. I can tell you the truth. I don't like grammar, but having you give me grammar, it's easier because the way you teach.
My ego, Gus. Thank you. All I'll say is this, and then it's Draga. Thank you. I really appreciate it. You guys know that I love you and care about you all. And I think some teachers, this is true for every language, every country I've ever been in, right? Every subject. Some teachers, I think, really believe like, oh, it's all about my topic. Like if I teach nursing, it's all about nursing. Or if I teach math, it's all about math. And I think honestly, like good education is when I look at you in the camera and I say like, it's all about you guys. Like it's all about you. It's all about what you need to learn. And my job, I really think, is to learn you guys and to learn what you need and how I can help you, and then share my experience, right? And share my knowledge with you. And I think some teachers are all about their knowledge, right? Like, I have all the knowledge. I will share it with you all. You need to understand all my knowledge.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Again, like I said, that's true at universities and in every language in every country. But I think, but you guys know I do it different. And I think some people like the way I teach it and other people don't, and that's okay. Okay, too much talking about me. Draga, you've been so patient, and then Liz. Draga, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so I'm wondering, since we will read from week to week 50 to 60 pages, more or less, and you said everything is important. Okay, I am just wondering if we will have anything to do. Will you give us to summarize or to do anything with those chapters?
Of course, you know I will, Draga. Yeah, and I've got the first two new lessons that are very specific to the book are in Canvas. I'll show those to you next. So the short answer to Draga's question, and I'm sure other people are thinking that like, oh my God, quizzes, points, grades, what's up? We will do, I'm not going to give you like a reading quiz or a super stressful assignment for every chapter, every page. But yeah, like for each section here, Draga, I'll give you some kind of activity. And you're absolutely right. Basically, it's you're going to practice summarizing sometimes. You're going to practice paraphrasing sometimes. You're going to practice responding sometimes, right? You're going to practice all three of those academic skills. We're done with narrative for now. But that's sort of how we're going to do it. So when Draga's asking about what to focus on, you're absolutely correct, Draga. Those assignments will be a big clue, right? Like it'll be like me saying, hey, really focus on this page. But Gus is right. Like eventually, you know, as you take transfer level classes, there might not be an assignment telling you, hey, look at page 13. You know, you might just kind of have to understand from your own experience what to focus on. But yeah, I'll give you some stuff to do without stressing you out too much, Draga. Liz, still question?
Oh, no, I just want to tell that about reading and understand information and can do summarizing essays. The thing is that in many cases, we didn't do the baby steps when we were a child. Last week, I have a meeting in my child's school. She's 7. And the professor says like, oh, sorry, because this is really basic that we are teaching to your child, but I want that you know how to do. And I was learning so much, like see that kind of questions, underline, identify. And I was like, oh, this is a master class. And the problem is that many times we, the students that are here, I'm is like adult students.
Yes.
It's like when we were a child, we didn't like the school or we didn't take classes or even we don't read in our language. So when we have to read a book in another language and we are not in that way, it's like difficult. I think as you said, is we have to read and read and read and read. And someday we will say, oh, it's easy to understand for the practice. That's
Hallelujah. I love it. Yeah, I love it. I agree. And I'll say it again. So again, like everybody in this class is at a different point on the path, right? If we imagine the journey, if we're on the path, everyone's at a different point on the path. That is fine. If trying to read 10 pages is super stressful for you, okay, only read 10 pages. But read them very closely. You know what I mean? Like that's my suggestion for you as we get started. Do what you can do, but do it well. You know what I mean? Like whatever you can do, Give it time, because you're right, Liz. And if a student didn't graduate, we have students at ARC who in ESL class, right? Some people went to university in their home country. Some people went to high school. Some people didn't go to high school. Some people feel really comfortable reading in their first language. Some people don't, right? Everybody has different experience, right? And that's fine. That's totally
Yes.
fine. It's
I learned,
my job.
yeah, no,
Please,
I
please.
learned so much with my child homework. When I'm
love it.
like helping her, I'm learning.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah. So that's my long way of saying, right? We're going to read this book. You're going to have a new experience. If it feels really difficult, that's okay. Remember, like I said on the syllabus, right? I'm not asking you to love everything. I'm not asking you to do everything perfectly, but I will say, like, the thing that will support you in your learning the most is figure out whatever you can do and then do it with a lot of focus, do it with a lot of focus, because eventually, like I said, if your goal is to transfer to university, I believe you can get there. I believe you can if you go, right? But we do have to start building some of these skills, and however much you can in this class, that's my goal. That's my goal. Okay, so now I'm thinking of Draga's question. We've got about 30 minutes, just a little more. So I'm thinking of Draga's question about, okay, Jeff, like, how are we going to practice this? What are we going to do? What's going on? How will we apply this when we think about reading 40 or 50 pages? Okay, so here's, again, the reading schedule. Let me show you what's in Canvas now. Well, I've got information I'll share with you first. So as I said here at the beginning, I've got a schedule announcement. Let me share that with you now, which is, here's the announcement. So there will be no live Zoom meeting next Thursday. Jeff, what's going on with your brain? Tuesday. I need to be with my sister next week. So I cannot hold a regular live Zoom meeting. I've got to be with family. It was unexpected, but I need to cancel that live Zoom. But I'm going to give you lots of stuff to help you, support you, and hopefully more time for you to read, right? If you were going to be here and you were thinking 2 hours with Zoom, well, now you've got 2 hours or you can read. Good news. And there will still be plenty of time for questions with me, I promise. Now, because of this, I have given you 2 assignments that will be due before our next live Zoom meeting in 2 weeks. So I'm giving you a due date for these because I won't see you for 2 weeks, right? But I'm giving you stuff to do during those 2 weeks. And you can still text me, email me, I'll still have office hours. That's going to be fine. I'll just share with you guys. My sister and her husband are going through some stuff. They need help taking care of their kids. I've got 3 nephews, right? They're 6, 4, and 2 years old. So I'm kind of going in to be full babysitter duty. And especially at night, that means they're going to be out of the house. And I've got to watch the 3 babies. So I'll be okay during the day. Well, there's no babies, right? The young one is almost 2 now. He can walk. He's too big. But so at nighttime, it just means I've got a lot going on at night, right? But if you need help or support during the day, you're still going to be able to reach out and talk to me, and I'll still be able to talk to you during those times now, okay? But again, because I can't see you next Tuesday night, I'm going to give you 2 lessons that have due dates. That's April 5th. Again, that's 2 weeks before class. So like Draga is saying, okay, what are we doing for each section? Well, I'm going to make sure, force you to do some work for those first 50 pages, because here's what's due, right? I thought I changed this, excuse me. Oh, I did change it. I'm so sorry, you guys. I'm a mess. Hold on 1 second. Anisha says, best of luck. I know. 3 of them by
I know
myself.
how it feels.
I know you know how it is. I love them too, but you're right. It's going to be much more hard work than teaching this class. You know that.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, I've got to fix some due dates in Canvas here. That's right. I'll take pictures. I'll send you pictures when I see you in 2 weeks, you guys. Let me fix this in Canvas. I made a mistake with my due dates here. Okay, so I won't see you on the 22nd of March, but I will see you on 3/29. Let me fix that in here. I know usually whenever I always feel bad if I have to cancel class. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. And students are like, it's no problem. Don't worry. No. And don't worry about it. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. Okay, so let me share my screen again. Okay, so I will not see you. Again, I will not see you on the 19th, next Tuesday, March 22nd, excuse me. I have my dates crazy. I'm so sorry, you guys. So I will not see you on March 22nd. But I am going to give you some stuff to do before March 29th, and here's what that is. So first,
It's my birthday vacation.
say what?
I said it's my birthday vacation.
Hey, is it your birthday next Tuesday, Parisa?
Yes.
Hey, happy birthday. Wow, yeah, happy birthday. Well, that's what I'll say. It's because for Parisa, we all deserve a day off for Parisa. And Marcia, too, your birthday, same day, Marcia? We have 2 people on the 22nd. Oh my goodness. We've got some good March energy this month. I love it. Happy birthday, you guys. Sabi says happy birthday in the chat. Okay, lesson 17 should be fun and easy and not stressful because I'm asking you to summarize a video. So this says, watch the video, How to Get Your Brain to Focus by Chris Bailey. Write a 500-word summary. This I'm going to be really gentle and easy on. It's also my way of introducing you to the author and to our textbook, because if I start to share, hold on one second. There are so many YouTube ads nowadays, you guys. Okay, I'm going to share my sound. This is the author of our book.
A few years ago, I began to observe something in my own behavior that made me a bit uncomfortable. And that was that from the moment that I woke up to the morning, to the end of the day, my life was a series of screens.
There we go. That is the author of our book, right? And he is going to sort of give a big picture introduction to some of the themes, topics, and main ideas that we will read in the book. Okay, so it will give you a chance to meet the author of the book, hear some of the main ideas in the article, in the video, and then just 500 words. That's about 2 paragraphs. Summarize what you think the main ideas are. No critical reading necessary. You can even turn on the subtitles if you like, okay? And I'm checking the chat. I just see people saying, happy birthday, Marcia, and happy birthday, Parisas. That's awesome. I'll take questions in a second, but that's 17. Now, here's our first lesson that's connected to hyperfocus. Okay, so like Drago was saying, what's most important? Well, for lesson 18, I'm giving you a big clue, right? So it says, read page 1 through 49. It says red, I need to fix that, of hyperfocus. And I have a link here to my audio recording. So you can listen to the audio there. You can link to it from the assignment. So, and then I say, write 3 summary paragraphs. Each paragraph needs to be at least 250 words, right? So you will write at least 750 words total. In paragraph 1, I want you to summarize the 4 types of tasks. In paragraph 2, summarize what Bailey writes about attentional space. And paragraph 3, summarize why Bailey says it is important to work with intention. Now, again, I'm telling you what to look for, and like I'm combining with Gus's great ideas, I'm sort of giving you the vocabulary that's going to be a big clue for what you're looking for, right? So if I'm asking you to summarize the 4 types of tasks, as I said here, you're going to need to look at this section of the book, right? And when I ask you to summarize attentional space, well, you probably won't be surprised when it says chapter 2. Okay, attention, interesting. Let's see, where else can we find this? Oh, meet your attentional space. Okay. Oh, attentional space. Okay. What's filling your attentional space? Okay, so the header is giving you some big clues. And then where it says summarize why Bailey says it's important to work with intention. Well, again, you'll notice if you look at our headers, I've got things that say, excuse me, I think I went back too far. Attention overload. Working with intention. There's my word, intention. Here's a graphic that talks about intentions inside of another image, okay? We've also even got shadow boxes that are talking about attentional space and intention, right? So the headers and the vocabulary are giving you big clues where to focus your attention. Now, I will be honest with you, right? If you are one of our many students who have a job or two jobs or kids at home and you're stressed and you're like, oh my goodness, I don't know how to read 50 pages. Okay, I am going to say then, if you only have a limited time, you should focus your time on these sections that I've identified, right? That would be very good learning strategy for you to do, for example. I'll fix this later. Okay, does this make sense? What I'm asking you to do in lesson 17 and in lesson 18. I'm not expecting perfection. I haven't even shown you an example of a summary. I will show you that in 2 weeks' time, okay? But this is just the first chance for you to really practice this new skill. So just go for it, and then we can see how you do and how comfortable you feel, right? 8:05, we've got 25 minutes, plenty of time. Okay, any questions at all about lesson 17 or 18 or no Zoom next week or anything? And then we'll finish up with one sort of last idea or activity to get you comfortable. I see Didia, please.
Yes, one question only. We have to use, for example, all the details that you say how and when to the summarize. For example, we have to use a citation, obviously, from the book in our summary and all those things that you just let us know.
Yeah, I'd say this about that. So let me go back to the PowerPoint. I'll answer that question. Let me I'm going to make a duplicate slide here. Excuse me. Excuse me while I fight my technology for a second. There we go. I'm going to say for lesson 17, do not worry about an in-text citation. Just use Bailey's last name. So something like in a recent or in a TED Talk from 2018, author, whatever, Bailey discusses, shares, talks about whatever, right? Don't worry about a page number or parentheses or anything like that for the video, okay? All you need to do is use his last name. For lesson 18, just introduce Bailey one time in the first paragraph, and then use the page numbers in parentheses, parenthesis, after that. So you'd say something like, as an example here, in the book Hyperfocus, Bailey discusses the 4 types of tasks that people should be aware of. I believe that's page 14. I don't have my paper book in front of me right now. I'm sorry. He says the tasks are something like this, right? So this is paragraph 1. Then you can say later in the book, he. If you wanted to put Bailey here, that's fine. I'm not that worried about it. But if you didn't want to just, I don't want you to feel like you need to keep saying Bailey, Bailey, Bailey in this lesson 18 here, right? So here on attentional space though, again, I want to make sure I'll probably get the page number wrong here because I'm in the electronic book. But the electronic book talks about it on page 28, for example. So you could say something like, he writes about people's attentional space, 28. And that's enough, right? That's it. In chapter 2, he also argues that people should be more intentional with their awareness. 39, something like this, right? That's all you need to do. That's all you need to do. And then you can just continue with your summary. So don't worry about giving me in-text citation, lesson 18, citation examples. Yeah, don't worry about giving me more than, like, you don't need to give me the page number, 14, 15, 16, 17. Once you give me that first page number where he talks about 4 tasks, you're good. Once you give me that first page number where you find important information about intentional space, you're good. Yeah. Does that help, Didier? Such a good question. Such a good question. Draga, I see your hand.
I'm sorry, I didn't lower it.
Oh, okay. Anybody else questions about 17 and 18?
Yeah, Mr. Jeff, do we need to write it in MLA format again, right?
Always. Everything in this class, if you send me, I would, so I won't take too many points off of it, but for people who wrote their essay in a font that was not Times New Roman, you lost points. If you want those points back, just put it in Times New Roman. So that's one other thing, like Gus was talking about skills you can learn in this class. Everything you ever turn in for college level or transfer level should be MLA formatting. That means Times New Roman, 12-point font, double spaced. Yes, please, Draga. If it's in a Word document or a Google Doc, make it MLA format. Thank you for asking, Draga. I don't want to always say it over and over again, but it's a really important question. Thank you, Draga. Anybody else? So again, lesson 17 and 18, put it in a Word document and use MLA formatting, just like Draga's excellent question. Other questions?
Do we need to write what is main idea? So.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. You need to summarize. Basically, when I say, what are the 4 types of tasks? That's me saying the 4 types of tasks is a main idea that I want you to understand. Understand it and then summarize it for me. You know what I mean? And lesson 17, like I said, is a little bit more loose and easy. That's just practice. That's a video. Watch the video. It's short. It's cool. It's interesting. And then just sort of see if you can understand the main idea. Here, I'm telling you very explicitly, right? The 4 types of tasks is really important that you understand it. Read it, understand it, and summarize it. Attentional space is really important. Read it, understand it, and summarize it. Other questions? It's 8:12. We finish at 35 usually. Okay, here's my, yes, Draga.
Yeah, are you going to explain us a little bit more differences between a thesis statement, main idea, supporting?
Yeah, that was my question. That's I'm sort of thinking out loud, Draga, about what to do with this last bit of time here. So again, let me clarify anything else, people, about because if I talk about this, then I'm gonna have to go fast. So I won't have time for questions. So I want to make sure that if I think I can present this to you guys a little bit and just explain it. Probably won't have too much time for questions. I'm sorry, but at least I can put it in the recording for people. But I want to make sure. So again, no Zoom next week. I will send out an announcement about that. But because there's no Zoom, these first lessons where I make you practice some of the new skills in hyperfocus, they will be due before our next live Zoom in 2 weeks. Next week, we will have cake and cupcakes and celebrate our birthdays next week for buddies. For our 2 students born on the 22nd. Here's some examples. And then other than that, please finish the lessons that are already in Canvas. And that's what I want to do. So that's about next week and 2 weeks from now. Any questions about that? And then if not, I will go really quickly through that lesson 16 because it is important. So any last call for questions, and then I'll probably talk for about at least 10 minutes. You guys can turn your video off and just listen to me for a minute. All right, let's look at this because even if we are sort of tired or fading, it'll help you in your reading. It will help you in your reading. So lesson 16 is sort of me forcing you guys to practice college level critical reading skills. And I'll read through the short article and then I will explain. Sorry, I'm tired. I'm clicking on the wrong link. Excuse me. Okay, so like I said, I have already, I just changed the allowed attempts to unlimited here. So for, I think, Manisha, students who are worried about being able to take it again, you've got time, you're good. So let me read this to you, and then I think one big reason that I ask people to do this activity is because part of the challenge in critical reading at college level, transfer level, is it's not just a 5-paragraph essay, right? Like the thesis, topic sentence, supporting details, that's good in some ESL textbooks, but it's just not real life, right? And I think so many of the students who come to this class are really good, hardworking students, and they think, ooh, the thesis will always be the final sentence of the introduction paragraph. But it is not that simple. It is not that simple, if only it were. And in fact, like Gus was talking about the video that we watched in the week, I don't know what, week 2 or 3 or 4, often the main idea, the most important idea, the thesis statement, might be at the end of a chapter or an article, right? And I want us to see some examples of this. So I'll go through this reading really quickly, and then we'll see how much time I have to talk about it. So college level reading, where did the thesis statement go? Now that you've learned a little bit about how to read college level texts, it is important for you to understand some of the ways that they are different from other types of reading. Many students who have never studied in a US university are surprised to learn that college level readings are unique. They are unique for many reasons, including their variety, complexity, and length. But there are 2 extremely important characteristics that multilingual learners new to transfer level coursework must understand as soon as possible. These 2 essential characteristics will be discussed below. Multilingual learners who have taken English as a second language ESL classes in the past have often learned that they should always try to find the main idea for any English reading in the thesis statement. Further, they usually learn to locate the thesis statement in one very specific place in the reading, the final sentence of the introduction paragraph. For example, if a teacher asked you to find the thesis statement for this article you are reading now, you might choose the sentence, "These 2 essential characteristics will be discussed below." But this sentence is absolutely not the thesis statement of this article. This is because in transfer level reading, it's not about where the most important idea is found. Rather, it is about what the author of the text wants the reader to understand and remember. Sometimes an author actually will write a single thesis statement and locate it at the end of a specific paragraph. For example, at the end of the introduction section in a research article. More often, however, an author will introduce and contextualize important information throughout the entire reading and then expect the reader to synthesize and understand the main idea by themselves. This is often the case in a news article, an online opinion article, or a chapter in a college level textbook. So remember that when you're searching for the main idea in a college level reading, you should focus on what the main idea is, not where it is. The second essential thing for multilingual learners to remember about transfer level reading is that the author will expect the reader to use the critical thinking skill of synthesizing. And for this reason, being able to synthesize is one of the most important skills in transfer level classes. Synthesizing means taking two or more different ideas and making a relevant connection between them. Look at the following two ideas and think about how you could make a relevant connection between them. So, many ESL students find it difficult to improve their college level reading skills. Many ESL students have never been taught how to read more quickly and effectively. Both of these sentences are about the same topic, ESL students' reading skills. However, each sentence includes a different fact about that topic. This is very common in college level reading, and it is the responsibility of the reader to use critical thinking to understand how the two facts are connected. For example, a reasonable synthesis of these two facts would be, if EFL students are taught how to read more effectively, their reading skills will improve. This is not the only possible synthesis a reader could take from the text, but it is a good example because it very directly connects the two facts presented to the reader. ESL students find it difficult, and ESL students have never been taught. The synthesis connects the two facts by explaining how ESL students can improve their reading skills by having professors teach them how to do it. Regardless of how you choose to synthesize the facts in a specific reading, it is essential to remember that authors will not clearly write out the synthesis for you, and they will expect you to come to this understanding on your own. Clearly, college level reading is very different from any ESL textbooks you might have used in the past. It's important that you understand more about what authors expect from the readers, because this will allow you to understand more of what you read, and then you will be able to use that knowledge when you begin to write. If you want to improve your reading and writing in all of your transfer level courses, remember, the author can put the most important ideas anywhere in the text, so you will need to synthesize information while you are reading in order to fully understand what the author wants to say. Okay, that didn't take too long to read. Okay, now if I make this bigger, it's not as easy to read, I'm sorry, but we need to see sort of, I've chosen to color coordinate some of the ideas here. Now, as I ask you to think about in the quiz, I've got some sentences in yellow, some in green, and one in blue. Now, Draga's question, because that's the way I asked it in the quiz, is if we think about a thesis statement, one central idea, one central argument, one most important idea, and then some connected main ideas. If you think about this, blue, green, yellow, right? Which one is probably going to be the most important thesis here? Is it going to be only one idea, one sentence, or more than one sentence?
Is blue, one sentence.
Gus is on it. Gus is on it. Parisa, I saw you unmute yourself. Did you just want to agree?
Yes, one sentence.
Right. And now this is the challenge, right? Like, what's the difference? Like, I'm thinking of Draga's question here. What's the difference between a main idea and the thesis? In college level reading, that gets complicated, right? Like, of course, there are some very important ideas in here, but only one sentence clearly says both of the most important ideas in one place, right? In one place, because there really are only two main ideas in this paragraph, in this reading. And again, if we think about it in the past, right? If you're thinking of your traditional 5-paragraph essay, this would be your topic sentences, right? Like your topic sentences would be main ideas that very clearly and directly connect back to your thesis statement, right? So part of my goal with this reading is to force you to work backwards, right? So if we think about the blue sentence, and let's just read it one more time. If you want to improve your reading and writing in all of your transfer level courses, remember, the author can put the most important ideas anywhere in the text. So you will need to synthesize information while you're reading in order to fully understand what the author wants to say. There are 2 clauses. Let's see, are there only 2 clauses? Yes, there's only 2 clauses. So that's probably giving us my 310 people. You know what I'm talking about. Each of those clauses could be its own sentence, independent clauses, and has an idea. What are the 2 most important ideas that make up the thesis statement in this reading? Summarize it or paraphrase it for me. What am I saying here? If there's 2 points, what are they? What's point number 1?
That the author can put important ideas anywhere in the text. That's the first part.
Good. Draga quoted for me. She didn't paraphrase or summarize, but she's right? The first really essential thing here is the most important idea can be anywhere. The thesis can be anywhere, right? That's the first really important piece of information that we get in this sentence. Absolutely. So what's the next? So that's number 1. That's point number 1. What's point number 2?
Synthesize the information.
Yep, that's right. So who needs to synthesize it?
And the readers.
Yeah, you got it, Parisi. You're perfect. That's right. Right. The author might not synthesize for you, right? You, the reader, the expectation is you need to be synthesizing, making connections, logical connections while you are reading. The author expects this in college level reading, right? In this example that I give you up here, and I wrote this, this is my essay, right? Like I wrote this for you guys. So here, I give you 2 things that are true, right? Many ESL students find it difficult to improve their college level reading. Many ESL students have never been taught how to read more quickly and effectively. I never say, if you learn how to do it, you'll read better, right? But that's the example I'm trying to give you, right? Like I don't make it explicit. I don't say this because the expectation is college readers will start to make this. If they see a sentence like this, oh, many students, ESL students have a hard time reading advanced text. Okay, that's interesting. Many ESL students have never been taught how to read more quickly and effectively. Okay, now I'm just sort of practicing, again, how to be reading, right? It's like, well, I wonder what would happen if ESL students were taught how to read effectively. Or, oh, if students learned different reading strategies, would they think it was easier? Would their test scores go up? Would they feel more happy? You know what I mean? Those are the type of critical thinking questions that the author will expect you to be making, right? It's not an ESL textbook anymore. And it's why, honestly, I'm tired, and I'm going to tell you the truth. I hate a lot of ESL textbooks because they make it too simple, right? And it's good to be simple because you should understand. You need to understand. But at 325 level, you have to be going one step beyond understanding and starting to think about, why does this matter? Like, who cares, right? Is this an even interesting or important idea, right? So that's what I mean about synthesizing. So if we say point number 1 is the thesis, the number 1 main idea can be anywhere. And number 2, because it can be anywhere, you need to be asking critical questions. You need to be synthesizing. You need to be making connections while you're reading, right? That's number 1. Number 2, that's what's in our sort of blue thesis statement. So now again, let's just think strategically. I've got blue, green, and yellow, and we know that there are 2 main ideas that make up my thesis statement. So what do we think are the two main ideas, yellow or green?
Yellow.
Eh?
No, it's green.
Green.
Right. And again, partly I'm trying to organize this in a clear way just to make things easy, right? You will always have more supporting details, more supporting information, more examples. There will always be more details than main ideas.
Yeah.
And there will always be one central argument, one clear, the number one main idea, right?
Yeah.
So
And
that's
Professor, excuse me to interrupt you. Yeah, because
of course.
I answered that in the 16, and this it says is wrong because
That
it
was
says
that
oh,
was
okay,
my
yeah.
that was Parisa. I think that was you, Parisa, who told me it was
Yeah.
wrong, right? That was just me. I put it in Canvas wrong, Gus. That was my mistake.
Okay, that means that is correct. Okay, but
Yeah, I'm just trying to scare you guys. You know, I'm so sorry about that. No, yeah, and partly what I'm trying to show you with this activity again is there's not one perfect structure for college level writing, right? I wish that I could tell you that the thesis is always the final sentence of the first paragraph. But like I showed you here, I think, well, I wrote it, so I'm biased, but I think that these paragraphs make sense together. I think that I'm presenting something in a clear and interesting way, hopefully, right? But clearly, these two essential characteristics will be discussed below. That's not the thesis. Now, there are two characteristics, but I don't define what they are. I don't explain why they matter in this sentence. This sentence cannot be the most important sentence in the reading, right? Like, it's interesting. I talk about two characteristics, but the two characteristics themselves, here is the first one, here is the second one, and I save the one sentence that combines them and explains them, and I put it in at the very end, right? So I am so sorry for people who knew what I was doing, but I put the I put the quiz answer in Canvas wrong. Mea culpa, mea culpa. Okay, what else? We've got like 5 minutes. So tell me. So I'm thinking of Drago's question now, like how do we know? So one thing I wanted to make clear, and I'll repeat it, is partly we have to know because if I give you, you know, a page or 2 pages, something short like this, there should be one sentence that gives us as close as we can get to a thesis, right? That clearly says like, this is it. And then inside that thesis, you might have 1, 2, or 3 main ideas. And then those main ideas should be some kind of topic sentence somewhere else in the reading. But there will always be more supporting details, supporting evidence. There'll be always more yellow that support those topic sentences than the green, right? The green is the actual main idea where I explain like the controlling main idea. Now, again, the hard thing for students, I'm thinking of Draga again, you know, when you're a student and you work really hard and you care a lot, some students are like, but Jeff, like everything in this paragraph is important. Like, how can there only be one? There can't be only one main idea. But this is not true. And if you read this and you go like, I don't know what the difference is between this sentence and this sentence, you got to go back and reread it, right? Like, because I promise you, there's one, and you hear teachers call this different things: topic sentence, controlling idea, main idea. Different textbooks will call this all different stuff, right? But like at a certain level, you it's kind of like a feeling. And like Gus is saying, maybe it is partly vocabulary, right? Maybe it partly is structure and organization. Maybe it is, we see what are the different examples that connect back to one of these controlling ideas or main ideas, right? It's again, this is one of those things. It's like the theme in a narrative essay, right? It's kind of more art than science. If I could give you the math equation, I would. But it's not always that black and white, you know. 2 minutes. Draga, this was your question. Did that help at all, or are you just more confused?
I still don't understand what is thesis. thesis and what is main idea? I don't understand difference.
Well, now that you know, the main idea is green, the yellow is supporting, and the blue is the thesis. If you don't understand, go back and read this as many times.
I don't understand definition.
I'd say the definition is, the thesis is the number one, the thing that the whole article is about, right? The whole article is about, this is all about college level reading and what makes it special, what makes it unique. This is the sentence that in one sentence clearly explains what makes it unique. These are the sentences that first introduce those ideas, those two key ideas. And these yellow sentences are the ones that support or give examples to the green sentences. And again, just because we're out of time, but I'd say again, for anyone who's thinking, I still don't understand exactly how this goes together, pardon me, read this essay 2 or 3 or 4 times and just ask yourself, like, okay, Jeff already told me that the green is the topic sentences, the green are the main ideas, the blue is the thesis. Can I read this and understand why? What is the relationship between the green and the yellow? What is the relationship between the ideas in the green and the blue? That's the magic, man. That's the special sauce. That's where,
like you said, Professor. Like you said, Professor, in other classes they teach essay and they say, okay, you have to make your thesis at the beginning, and that is confusing. They don't give you this kind of.
I know. It's always right here. How will I know it's the main idea? Well, it's the topic sentence of a new paragraph, but it's not always like that.
Yeah, but the thing that video, and I think it's for the first week or second week, I don't remember, but that video it gives you a lot of it's in YouTube. You have in the first week, I think that helped a lot.
Excellent. And I'll show, because we're out of time, and then I'll say goodbye. Because for live support materials, you guys, I also have a couple other videos, how to write an effective summary video, another online article with information about how to understand and think about the main idea. And then I also have a recording that I made last semester. So it's different students from last semester, but I'll click it here. It's, oh, I need more water. My throat is drying out. This is the class last semester where I introduced some of the ideas from the first 50 pages of Hyperfocus. I'm so sorry, you guys. So again, that's in live support materials for you under our meeting, where we won't have a live Zoom. But I do have sort of more lecture where I'm talking and explaining some of these ideas. It's just from last semester. So that's what this video is here. And it starts an hour in, so you're not missing anything back here. This is all stuff you don't need to watch. But if you want more of me, if you want me reading you the book and more of me talking about the book, that's what the Lord have mercy. That's where you can find more of it on the Zoom recording for live support materials. And again, I will talk much more about some of the critical reading skills, looking at lesson number 16. So if you're still thinking, I'm not sure, my number one advice is reread lesson 16, look at it again, read it deeply, and ask yourself, what is the relationship between the blue sentence and the green sentence? What is the relationship between the ideas in the green sentences and the yellow sentences? Because that's your workout, right? That's like your practicing scales, Draga, that's as basic as it gets, but it's essential. It's essential. So we're 2 minutes late. Oh my goodness, I'm going to stop recording and say goodbye. You're all so kind and generous.